Welcome to another episode of the PPSS Show. My name is Fong, and today we have another great guest. He comes highly recommended by a few of the guests that I've had on my show recently, and I've also had the opportunity of chatting with him. And he's so full of energy, great personality, and has a lot of value to add. So I'm very, very excited to have him here today. He is an expert and master when it comes to speaking, marketing, business development, and strategies. He's been helping lots of people and businesses all over the world explore multiple methods for attracting sales opportunities. Now, he's also one of those people who truly believes that you're not as stuck as you may think you are in that sales slump as you think you are. And he has over 128 different methods and techniques and skills to help you get past those slumps. He also helps you walk through those 6 steps of business development, building a business, building a company and organization. So again, very, very excited to have him here. So please welcome a lead generation sales speaker, author, and Speaker Speak Live founder, the business longevity guy, Mr. Marty Dickinson.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for being here. Very, very excited. It's always a joy to speak with people who are very, very successful in what they do, and then also pass on those skill sets to other people and do that on stages, do that on Zoom, and all that kind of stuff. So I'm very, very excited. So thank you very much for being here.
You're welcome. And it's always important to share what you've learned. That's always been a belief of mine. A lot of people just kind of hold back, and I don't. I just tell it like it is. There's no beating around the bush. And I found that that's how most people like to receive information as well, something that they can actually put to use immediately.
Now, normally my first question is tell us your origin story. But one of the first things that pops up on your LinkedIn is that you're a survivor of a chairlift disaster. So let's get that out of the way first before we jump into your origin story, unless that is your origin story.
It's pretty much the same thing. Yeah. I mean that I really I shouldn't be alive today, honestly. So anything beyond that point, being stuck in a chairlift in high school has been gravy to me. So I've always lived a life since then of one in service and humility because you just never know, and you might find yourself in a situation where you think you're all that and more, and then all of a sudden something comes along that's much bigger than you are, and oh, okay, I get it now. And that's exactly what happened to me on that chairlift. It was my last year in high school. I was in a high school ski club in Danbury, Connecticut. I went to high school in Danbury, Connecticut, so we went skiing all the time, and it wasn't even cool to wear ski pants back then. So we wore jeans and long underwear. That's what we skied in, which was fine, except for this particular day where I found myself halfway up a chairlift, stuck for 2.5 hours in what they told me later was minus 85 below wind chill factor. So I didn't even know that that's possible to get that cold, but I mean, maybe my ears were frozen when the ski patrol guys told me that, but that's what I heard anyway. We were in a very cold place for a long period of time, my ski buddy and myself. So I, you when you're stuck like that, that's when you realize what really being stuck is. I couldn't go forward, I couldn't go backwards, I couldn't jump off. Our chair, because of the wind, was not even just swinging. It was perpendicular to the ground and suspended. I wasn't worried about falling out the front. I was worried about falling out the side of the chair. That's how high we were on this thing. And you realize that you are at the complete mercy of something else to happen because we had absolutely no power. And fortunately, after 2.5 hours, they finally slowly began and got the chairlift to the top. And we got off, and the ski patrol. I'm pretty sure every ski patrol person on the entire mountain was there, waiting for us to just to peel us off the lift. And we were just like, yeah, get away, get away. We need to just ski. We need to get our blood flowing again. So we're like skating and pushing and going down this hill as fast as we can. And I looked over my shoulder, and they're all following behind us, just waiting for us to pass out and keel over. But we did, we just kept going. And once we got out of that situation, it was just go, man. Let's just go. We got to get warm, and that's exactly how I've found not only my own business to react to those situations, but other businesses that I've worked with. There's, I mean, you can't be in business very long before all of a sudden you feel like you're stuck and there's nothing else you can do until somebody finally smacks you and says, you're not done yet. There are options. There's always another option. You're just stuck in the ways that you've been doing this over and over and over again. And you need to look at some different options. What used to work 4, 5, 6 years ago might not work the same, if at all, anymore. So here, let me introduce you to some new things that you haven't thought of using that. And once you discover those, then you're just like us getting off that lift at the top of the ski patrol. Just let us go, let us go. I mean, you just want to go, and because then you're on fire, and then you thaw out. You're frozen up there on that lift, and you just thaw out, and you feel this whole sense of rebirth and living again, and that's where things get really exciting. We're in this weird time right now where a lot of people are in that spot. They're just not sure what's happening and what's going to be happening in the coming year, and they're real nervous about it, and it's paralyzing. It really is. And that's why I'm here with you today. If we can inspire anyone to come out of that place of being stuck or frozen or paralyzed, whatever word you want to use that you're feeling right now, there is always another option.
What I find very interesting is the fact that after you got off that lift, you didn't just go, okay, we're done. Well, I'm going home, or we're gonna sit in lodge and just hang out. No more skiing. I don't even want to see another chairlift. But you went back and you actually enjoyed the rest of your trip. You went and still skied and all kind of stuff. And lots of people out there, once they go through some adversity, they'll go, you know what? I'm done with this. I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna start doing something else. This is not for me. What was it about you that you go, hey, wait a minute. I still want to go skiing. I still want to do this. I'm not going to let this bother me.
Well, I not only continued skiing, but I moved to Colorado so that I could ski every week. I mean, I've been here for 35 years and I've built my whole lifestyle around being able to do that, going skiing at least once, maybe even twice or three times. And it's because of the freedom. I mean, you get to experience freedom when you ski, and that was far more important to me than just one simple event that almost killed me. I guess that's true, but at the same time, that experience of freedom is so much more important. And we get that same kind of freedom when we own our own business. So that amount of being able to make decisions of directions you want to take and the lifestyle that you want to live, that's really hard to beat. And I can't imagine a single instance taking me out of that, just like it didn't take me out of skiing. It's something that they turned into a lifelong lifestyle.
You mentioned about building a business it gives you that freedom. It comes with its ups and downs, but ultimately it gives you the freedom of choice to do what you want, to take charge and have control over like finances, decisions, and people and all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, it's the freedom to choose. Now, building businesses isn't easy. Lots of people just jump into it. People go, "Hey, you got a great idea. Start a business. Oh, you're good at this. Start a consulting business." And they just jump in without the foresight of what is actually on the horizon for them. But you're a person who's able to really map out six different steps. Here's all the things you have to kind of look at and be aware of. What are those six steps? And also, what are some of the highlights of those six steps that people should kind of really pay attention to?
Well, with me, everything has to be in steps. And the reason is because, well, partly because I am a Virgo. I was born in September, which means I have to have everything in a sequence of steps or I am hopelessly disorganized. So part of the process of coming up with six action steps is related to that is, what part of the process is a business in, or a person. Let's stop saying business. I mean, it's a person. People lead businesses. So we have to figure out where that person fits in to a sequence. Are they just starting out? Have they been doing this for a long time? What level of being stuck are they? And the mechanism that I use to identify that is the 6 action steps, which is that's my buddy right there, action. And he has been my mascot for 20 years now. And every time I get up in front of an audience, I have this poster board with me. When I first started speaking, I realized that speakers would get on stage and every one of them would say, "You got to take action, got to take action." Who is this action and why do I have to take them? So we finally took the cover off of my first book, Winning the Internet Dogfight. Don't try to go buy that. It's 20 years old and way out of print. But we took the picture off there, and that became my mascot, Action. And Action is not just a picture of an image of a dog, but it is actually the 6 steps of building any business. So what I do is I find out, all right, so we need to every letter has a word associated with it, and the first one is acceptance. You have to accept the fact that you truly are an expert in whatever it is you do. A lot of people I talk to, they don't realize that. Just the other day, I was in front of a group of high achiever business owners. And I asked the question, I said, "So, who in this room believes you are the very best at what you do?" And only about 70% of the room raised their hands. Now, I was amazed at this because you have to accept that you really are the best at what you do. And it's true. It's true in every case because nobody in the whole world has your experiences to reinforce your process of what you lead clients through or what you do for yourself in your business. You have to you have to walk the walk, right? So you've got to work your own method, your own process, but nobody does that process just like you. So in fulfilling that promise of your own method, I actually call that a genuine expert method. It's a sequence that nobody else can claim but you. It might have some of the same words involved, but more importantly, nobody can do that process just like you because of your experiences. That makes you unique, that makes you genuine, and that is why people want to hire you because you are the keeper of that process. But it starts with that. Starts with A, and yeah, then we get into, you don't have to go through every single one of these. There's a whole class for that. But the important thing is once you identify that you are an expert and then put that into your sequence, that's when you've earned the right to write about your method. And then you put that into a sequence through writing, and now you've earned the right to speak about your topic. You don't have to write a full book. I'm just suggesting that through newsletters or through articles, whatever it is, clarify what your genuine expert method is, and then that's what you take to the stages and say, "Here's my method, here's what people have had a result with following this method, and I'm going to teach this to you." That's what people want to bring you on stages for, including this podcast, because here we are talking about my 6 step method.
Awesome. And true enough, like that's also one of the reasons why I have you here because I wanted you to share a few of the steps that you spoke about, and then also the process as to how people can overcome those challenges to actually do those things. Because you talked about, okay, accepting that you're going to be an expert or you are the expert of something, then you have the right to write about it, then you have the right to speak about it. There's a lot of people out there that goes, you know what, I'm not good enough to write it. I am the expert, but why should I write? And then yeah, there's other people who's like, well, I'm too afraid to speak on stages. I don't need to go out there. I don't need to be the face. I don't need to be on stages. Why is writing a book or speaking on stage so important when it comes to building that business? And why is it important in those steps?
Yeah, well, you've heard the phrase, people like to work with people they know, like, and trust, right? I've been saying it for years that that needs to be changed. That's true. People want to do business with people they know, like, and trust, but they also want to do business with people who are visible. So add on that word, people want to do business with people they know, like, and trust, and are visible. So, how can you be visible so that people see you in multiple places, not just a book, not just in speaking, not just on social media. It's a combination of the three, the writing, the speaking, and the internet marketing. When they all work together, you've got this three-way power that is going out to the masses in multiple locations, and you're always present. Those are the people that people want to do business with. And if you can show that over time instead of just for 3 months and then nobody hears from you for 3 years, if you can have that consistency over time, that's when people start really seeing your street cred. That's what we call it. Is your credibility is just elevated because they see this longevity. That's why I call myself the business longevity guy, because that's part of my sequence is to project out into the future where you want your business to be. And we're not talking overnight success stories or be done with this in a year. Look out into the 5, 10, 15, 20 year range, because even if you sell your company, you can still potentially be on your board of directors when you get large enough and continue on with the company as an advisor. So how does that fit in to your plans? I mean, that part of that is your exit plan, of course. But all these things need to be taken into account when you're thinking of the future of your business.
Totally agree with that, and I lived through some of that. The very first thing I did was I wrote that book, and I knew in the back of my mind, okay, I'm not ready to go speak yet, but I could kind of lock myself in my room and start typing and writing my book. And a lot of people's first steps is that they're not out there in the open yet. They're in their rooms, they're in their offices, they're writing their book, and then when they're done, it's a matter of like closing your eyes and go launch, publish, kind of thing, right? Now the big step after that is speaking on stages. And there's lots of people that are either shy, they're intimidated. How does one overcome that? Like if they really want to go out there and try speaking, either virtually, live, whatever it is, but they have this absolute fear of putting themselves out there, what would you recommend them do to ease that pain?
Hmm. About 30 things come to mind. I'll summarize into a couple. First of all, if you write a book, if the book is good enough, you're eventually going to be asked to speak. So just keep that in mind. If your book is good enough, you will be asked to speak. So just get ready for that moment. And my father always used to say, Marty, a good speaker always accepts a speaking opportunity and figures out how to pull it off later. So you can live by those words because they've gotten me through several opportunities that I wasn't sure I was ready for. Another thought comes to mind from one of my mentors. We all have mentors in speaking and writing, and that is that you don't have to be good to start, but you have to start to be good. Now, some of you might be thinking, "Yeah, I've heard that before by Zig Ziglar and some other people," but the actual origin of that was from Joe Saba, and Zig officially called Joe on the phone and asked for permission to use that in his own books and speaking. So that is where it came from. Joe Saba, the co-founder of National Speakers Association, the Colorado chapter here in Denver, Colorado. And he told me that, and that helped a lot. I hope that helps some other people too, because that is key. You don't have to be a great speaker to start out. You just get speaking. And yeah, it might be tough. Join Toastmasters. That's always a suggestion of mine. Find 3 to 5 Toastmasters clubs in your area. Go visit them all and find one that meets every week, at least one, maybe. I mean, some people join 2, 3, and 4 Toastmasters clubs because they need an injection of getting through this problem with speaking and getting good at it quickly. For me, it took 6 years before I wanted to actually get in front of audiences and speak, because I am the least likely person you would ever imagine to be on a stage. I was so petrified of speaking. And once I discovered it was the only way I was going to be able to build my business without going out of my mind, trying to meet people just one to one to one forever, I mean, that's just brain damage to try to do that. It really is. You have to get on stages in multiple forms, and there are so many so many types of stages to speak on now, where there wasn't as many nearly when I started 20 years ago. But those are two important points. Join a Toastmasters club to get over the fear and get speaking to the point where it's part of you. It has to become part of your soul. Just the speaking component and how to use gestures, how to have eye contact, how to create a speech, and how to get confident in speaking. And then the next step is you need to learn about the speaking business, and that is where National Speakers Association comes into play. And there are chapters all over the U.S. Those are two things that go hand in hand, and they actually have an alliance together. We're supposed to call it a collaboration between the two, so both support each other, which is real exciting. We've been waiting for that to happen for a long time.
That's very, very awesome. And I liked how you said, say yes to all speaking engagements and then figure it out later. I had this one instance where I said yes so fast to a speaking opportunity. I go, okay, what time? Okay, no problem. I'll wake up early. And then what day? Okay, no problem. It's a Sunday? No problem. I'll be there. Where? Oh, it's virtual. Great, perfect. In Nigeria? Sure, no problem. And then all of a sudden I go, wait a minute, what is this whole conference about? Is water conservation? I'm like, I know nothing about water conservation. But they wanted me to talk about leadership and speaking and all that kind of stuff, so I was able to kind of meld the two together somehow. But yeah, it was one of those things you say yes, and you for some reason and you'll be able to kind of figure things out. And that's a lot of things that people don't really understand. They don't say yes first. They want to figure things out and go through all the if, ands, or buts and all the problems that could come occur. But what they don't realize is that once they start doing that, they start finding all the reasons to say no. And then eventually they'll say no and they won't do it. So what is this power of yes? Like we kind of touched about this. The power of yes is so important. How do people get like work themselves up to say yes easier?
For speaking opportunities?
Yeah, for like opportunities that lets them grow versus the whole analysis versus paralysis kind of mentality.
Oh, well, you always have to be growing. And I should have a caveat to always saying yes to speaking opportunities, because as you do get more established and you're holding yourself out as a speaker, well, it's important to really clarify those speaking opportunities. So the phrase that I have been taught by the world famous Lois Kramer is when somebody says, "We'd love to have you speak at so and so date," and then you say, "Well, I'd be happy to consider this opportunity. Would you mind if I ask you a few questions first?" So that opens up the door for you to ask several questions to really quantify and clarify if this is a good speaking opportunity for you. But yeah, at first, when you're asked to get on stages, just make every way possible to say yes. And the thing that will help you to do that is to hang around other people that are doing it. So if you want to write a book, hang around other people who are writing books, other authors. If you are a speaker, hang around other speakers who are out there doing it. If you are really wanting to dig into how to maximize social media and internet marketing and SEO and building your own website, hang around other people that are doing it, because you learn so much from all of those people. So that would be my suggestion. It gets a heck of a lot easier to say yes to opportunities as they come up when you embed yourself into these communities. For example, I started a community. This is 4 years ago now. We're just now celebrating our 4th year anniversary with Speakers Speak group on Facebook and Speakers Speak Live on Zoom. So Speakers Speak Live is a weekly event where a bunch of us as speakers get together and we have one showcase presenter, and then we support that showcase presenter and give positive feedback. And it's just a great weekly event for us all to hang out together and talk about what's happening in the speaking industry. And Speakers Speak group on Facebook is that support 24 hours, 7 days a week for speakers doing the same thing. So that's just an example of how important communities are for not just speakers, but there are author groups as well, and internet marketing groups as well, all kinds of business growth opportunities for you. I'm part of Achieve. Achieve Systems is the the fastest growing business growth community I've ever seen. And my goodness, the high achievers that are in that group will keep you motivated to say yes in more areas than you would expect, including joint venture partnering with people and developing high-end offers. There's just so much opportunity of things that you wouldn't even think of until you join the right community and get that support. And then you are definitely looking for reasons to say yes to that opportunity, yes to that opportunity. Let's do more. Let's do more. Let's grow. Let's scale. I mean, I'm kind of getting overly excited here because I'm thinking about it now of your question, and that's exactly what's happened to me before I joined and formed these communities. Yeah, I mean, I'm by nature, I'm an introvert. You might not guess it, but I am. I could easily just sit in my studio and my office and just do internet marketing. Yeah, I did that for years. We had for 20 years we had an internet marketing agency. We had clients over the country. We had 14 people on staff at one point, and that's what I did most of the time was I was just working with my team and then getting out on stages to build business to bring people into that team. But it doesn't have to be that way because there is a there are so many communities out there to support you in your business growth, and a community is so important in that aspect.
Yeah, I love that, and I fully am immersed with that because, like, if it wasn't for putting myself into certain groups and networking and th those communities, there's no way I would be where I am today. And I attribute a lot of my success to different groups and mentors and coaches and asking questions as to how they became successful and all that kind of stuff. So I truly believe, like, for people's first steps, put yourself into those groups, get connected with those Facebook communities so that you can start asking those questions. And what you'll find very interesting is that eventually you'll start asking those questions. You may be shy at first, but once after a few meetings, after a few weeks or so, you're gonna get more comfortable. You're gonna go, hey, wait, I have a question I could ask, and you're not afraid to do so, which is why it's so effective. Now, at the very beginning, we talked about being stuck and how we may or may not be as stuck as we think we are. So, from your experience, what are the first signs of people being stuck? They may or may not think they are stuck at that moment, but there should be some like lead ups as to the point that they go, you know what, I am stuck.
Well, crying is one. I mean, when all of a sudden things aren't going the way that you think they are, people's emotions change. I mean, they can be really upbeat people, and you know them as being upbeat and going out to events and showing up and mixing and mingling with people and being present on social, and all of a sudden, well, what happened to John? I mean, I haven't heard from this person like 3 months. Is that person okay? So just the somebody that is present normally and 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 uh, and visual, has you see this person all the time, and then all of a sudden they're not there. That's the first sign. So in your connections, it's a really good opportunity for you to be active on social and be watching for people that you're following. And if something happens, I mean, again, I live a life of service, so I'm always looking for hints like that of people who are just not engaged like they used to be, and I'll check in with them. And one great way to do that is not here we get into you said I had 128 specific things you can do to attract sales opportunities, and one of them is to, instead of sending a direct message like we do, we type in direct messages all day long, send a video. Get your phone out and go to LinkedIn and then send a video to a person that you have to have a first level connection to do this. They have to be fully connected with you. But then instead of sending a text message, send a video and just simply say, hey, I miss you. You're always making posts and I always reply to those. I'm always excited to see them. And I just wanted to check in and see if everything's okay because I haven't seen you put anything out lately. And you would be amazed the response that you get when something like that happens. I just, there's a friend of mine that same thing happened and a week went by and I didn't hear from this friend and it turned out she had COVID. And so I asked her, "How's it going?" And you could just hear the emotion of thanks through the text message that I sent on her phone to check in. People are just so alone sometimes. And I mean, it's enough to be in a business where we are solopreneur, right? And we feel so alone. You don't have to be alone. We already talked about being involved with communities, but the reverse is true too. Watch for community members that you are a part of and reach out to them and show them that you actually care that they're there or that they're not there, that they used to be there, now all of a sudden they're not. And I mean, we're always in a search for how to be remembered, how to do something different that nobody else is doing. And sometimes that answer is just right under our nose. All we have to do is is find those people that need just a little bit of a thumb in the back, a little pick me up, and to establish those relationships on a higher level. And that is sometimes all you need. And you're set for the year if you meet the right person, develop that relationship. All it takes is that one person for both of you, and you can be set for each other for the whole year. That's how networking. I mean, I don't like the word networking. Net building is much better because you're building a network of relationships, not just people and connections.
That is awesome. And again, agree with that 100%. We got to go out there, connect with people, and also like be observant as to what people are doing, what are their tendencies, so that if something does seem off, you could always reach out, and you'll be surprised as to how much farther that relationship can go because you've reached out, because you showed you care. Um, I know this question is going to be fairly loaded due to the fact that I've asked this to a lot of people before, especially all the like very successful individuals. But what is one story that you can share that highlights a big failure in which you've learned a great lesson from?
Oh my goodness. There are just so many. The one I share most commonly in my workshops that I call do shops, not just workshops. They're so interactive that you are doing things all day long to build your business. But one of the stories I share is when I was starting my very first business. It was called musicmates.com. Don't go there now. It's removed, but it was at one point the largest musician referral in the whole country. We started that thing in 1995, and in 6 months, on the day that I was offered a promotion at my corporate sales job, I said, "I'm sorry, my website is taking off, and I'm going to resign." So that was the good story. And the problem is that on Monday after that, I learned that I had to become really good at 50 different things, and I was only good at one or two of those things. And what really brought it home was it was about a year after that we decided that we were going to make a big promotion in our state using radio, and I did all the mistakes that so many business owners do. I did them all in one shot in a 24-hour period. We had this radio ad that went out perfect. It ran all night. We had that's the time when you hit musicians are all out the bars and everything, and so we ran this ad. And then the next day, I ran downstairs at like 7 o'clock in the morning to see all my millions of dollars of sales that I would have from my radio promotion. And my website was down.
Oh.
Oh, it gets worse. I called the hosting company that was hosting my website, and their phone was disconnected.
Oh.
I learned a few weeks later that they sold the company and literally pulled the plug on all of their hosting clients. It gets worse. So I called my helper who helped me put the website together, and his phone was disconnected. He got a contract out in California and came back like 6 months later. It was like, well, everything was fine. I didn't know I had to check in. See, I had completely lost control of my entire business. And that is where I learned the most important lesson, which is You have to stay in control of your business. You can hire all these people. You don't have to know everything about it. You don't have to be a designer or a programmer, but you do need to learn enough so that you always have control of your business. People are still letting their designers um, register their domain names for crying out loud. I mean, in the designer's name, it still happens. It's just amazing that after all these years, that kind of thing still happens. But it does, and you need to know enough to be in control. So at that point, I went to they have a local training school here in Denver, Colorado, and I lived at that place. I learned Photoshop, I learned HTML, I learned how to link domain names to websites. I mean, back then it was the olden days. We had to do everything so manually, and that's I dug in and learned it. So what is it? The point is, what is it that you have to learn to not only be in control of your business, but so that you know enough to instruct the people that you hire to help you so that you know that they're doing what they need to be doing to grow your business. It's not enough to just hire and outsource and hire VAs and all this that we're taught to do in all these internet marketing classes out there. Don't do any of this yourself. Just outsource it all. Well, you have to know what to ask for and you have to be able to monitor what people are doing. So you need to learn enough so that you always have control of your business. It would have to be that example that I always come back to.
That is awesome. And I can only imagine the feelings that you had that day. It would have been like, what? There's more? Another problem? What? More? Um,
Well, the thing is that if anybody listening to this is a musician, even a part-time musician, even a hobbyist like I am, I mean, you'd never see me play out. You don't want to hear me play. I'm a guitar player, have been for a long time, but you wouldn't see me out in a bar playing or anything like that. I just like to make a lot of noise, but I love getting together with bass players and drummers and just having fun. But if you have worked with musicians, you know that they have all been burned before. I mean, they hate business in general. Musicians just want to get up on stage and jam. Yeah, that's all they want. And so they always get burned. And so half of my challenge back then was to overcome that, to say, yeah, I know you've been burned. I've been burned too, but this isn't going away. It's okay to give me your $85 because we had a membership website, but long before the term membership website was even a thing. We should have called it Facebook, though. I mean, if only it was 1995. What can we do? But I know that they have been burned. So to put that much emphasis on you can trust me, and then all of a sudden for the website to vanish without anybody knowing. I mean, it took a long time to rebuild that trust, and those are the fallen. I mean, the ones that really lose out are the ones that when something tragic like that happens and you're no longer there providing that service, even though I was coming back, I was trying to figure it out how to get it all functional again. That is really an uphill climb. And plus, if you ever want to really work on your sales skills, try to sell to starving musicians. I can't even imagine how many girlfriends' credit cards I had I mean, written down. This is a long time ago. We used to write down all the credit card numbers so that we could renew them and enter them into the system and all that. But yeah, I mean, it was that level of selling that it took to convince them that this was a worthy thing. So yeah, there's all kinds of opportunity out there for practicing your skills, and actually AI can help with that. I don't know if everybody knows this, but there's a feature on your phone. ChatGPT has it, but there are other sources as well where you can actually practice having a conversation with somebody about what you're selling. So you essentially ask ChatGPT, we'll just use that as an example, to have a sales discussion and position Chat GPT so that they are the one that the potential buyer. And now you're bantering back and forth with how they would object and what you would say to overcome that objection. Practice your sales skills. Another one of those 128 methods for you. But there's always another option to help you break out of that being stuck and selling and growing in your business. Absolutely.
Well, from building those websites to creating those membership sites to today, what is it now that you're looking for, or the perfect client or clientele for you?
The perfect client for me is a business owner who has not yet discovered the amazing opportunity of getting on stages to promote their business. So I love walking people through that sequence. Again, just as in the 6 steps of action, it is a sequence. We need to find out where you are in the speaking process. It's kind of like being a product. We all have product life cycles in the speaking business. We have a beginning, and then we have retirement, and then there is what you want to do in between. Do you want to be on stage 150 times a year? Do you want to be on stage once a month? I mean, everybody is so different, and what do we have to overcome to get you there? So those are the people that I like to work with. I don't call myself a coach, I call myself a chaperone, because as a chaperone, I'm the guy that is looking, based on your experience, I'm looking a little bit forward in front of where you're going. And instead of crossing the street when the bus is coming, I say, hold on, no, there's a bus coming. No, you got to go this way instead. Let's wait, then let's go this way. So I'm walking you through this whole process. And sometimes that takes more than a 3 month coaching program. Sometimes that means we're together for 3, 5, 10 years, like some of my clients are. And I'm still working with them to this day for them to progress forward. You're always progressing forward until something in your life happens and you need to scale back a little bit, turn down the spigots a little bit. That's the great thing about speaking, is that once you have your sequence together, your process together, you can open that spigot for more and you can turn it back for less. It's a great way to promote your business. And I think it's maybe the only thing, the only method for attracting sales opportunities that really hasn't changed. I mean, you hear a bunch of changes in the industry, specific pieces of it, but no matter if the economy's great or terrible, no matter if things are going well for everyone or they're terrible, people always need to learn. There will always be stages, whether they're virtual or in person or hybrid, because people need to continually progress forward. And as the great saying I always like to incorporate into this is about hope. Speakers offer hope. And if we don't do that, if we are not out there on stages providing that hope, who else is going to do it? So we need to look at that aspect of the process, again, coming back to having a servant heart. I mean, just being out there wanting to provide hope to your audience, provide sequence, methodology, support, and caring, like you were talking about earlier. And you do all those things, and your business is going to continually grow for years to come. And that's why I always come back to that longevity factor. Think more than just what do I have to do this week or this month. Think more into the 3, 5, 10, 15-year range and really build something that changes the entire scope of your industry.
That's great, and I think that's a good spot to end right here on our formal portion of the interview. Before I let you go, I do have 5 quick rapid fire questions. Give me the first thing that comes to mind. You're stranded on a deserted island, one food to eat for the rest of your life, no consequence.
You're gonna have to say that one more time. Say it again.
You're stranded on a deserted island, no consequence as to what you're gonna eat. What's that one food you would eat for the rest of your life? You'll still be in
Lobster.
shape, you'll still be healthy.
Oh no, lobster. Absolutely. Lobster every day. I could do it. You bet.
Perfect. Hollywood calls and goes, "Hey, Marty, we love your story. Very, very inspirational. Who would you cast to play you in a biography?"
Matt Damon.
Matt Damon shows up at your door and goes, "Hey, buddy, I got casted to play you. Let's hang out. Let's have some fun. What do you have in mind? So what's that night out with Matt Damon like?
We would go skiing. I can tell
Yeah.
everything I need to know about a person by an hour of skiing with them.
Awesome. Well, after a long day of skiing, Matt Damon's hungry. So you go, hey, no problem, buddy. Come back to my place. I'll fix you something nice. What's that special dish?
Seafood gumbo with lobster in it.
Perfect. And last question, give me a number from 1 to 4.
3.
1, 2, 3. So the word is coveralls. If you have to use coveralls as a metaphor for success, how is coveralls like success?
Coveralls will shield you from whatever wind comes along. Take it from a guy that almost died in a chairlift for 2.5 hours stuck in minus 85 below wind chill factor. You need a shield because there are things that are going to be thrown at you, and coveralls are a great metaphor for being a shield. I might even use that in the future.
Nicely done. So that's how success is like a coveralls. Thank you very much for your time, all the little nuggets that you dropped today, and wisdom. Thank you very much. And what's the best way for people to get in touch with you? And any final words?
I would suggest if you're a speaker, join Speakers Speak group on Facebook. You can go to speakersspeakgroup.com. That'll take you to the group and just start there. That's the best way. And then we will be connected as a result of you joining that. And otherwise, you can always send an email to me at martydickinson.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. So everybody, especially for those who wants to become speakers, get in touch with Marty. I'm sure he'll entertain some conversations, connections with you, and help you get on your way to become a great speaker. So make sure you connect with him. And until next time, he's Marty. My name is Fong. Today is the day to lock your peak potential. We'll see you later.